Nicole, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is for the newest release from Holo Taco. I have their new Underglow collection. According to the little information card that I got, this release is inspired by, and I quote, "a graceful glow echoing off misty mountains and glistening glaciers in a cloud winter landscape." As you can tell, this release also features a nifty little collection box, which I'll have some close-ups of in a moment. The Underglow collection is available right now on the Holo Taco website. Thankfully, this release is not limited edition. However, this nifty collection box is going to be limited edition, but the polishes themselves, oh wow, this is reflective. Huh, sorry. The polishes aren't limited edition, but the collection box is. I'm gonna stop flashing because I feel like it's gonna get picked up in the camera really badly. I did receive the Underglow collection and gifted PR from Holo Taco, but this video is not sponsored, and as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. And some of them might be unpopular, just a warning, because some of y'all get mad at me sometimes. Thank you very much to the Holo Taco team for sending this one over to me. So as always, in the description box, links to where you can pick these polishes up, links to the brand's social media pages, my social media pages, and as per usual, I'll save all of my thoughts and feelings and opinions at the end of the video. Let's get into this one. Here is the collection box up close. As always, it has the embossing from Holo Taco. It's super reflective. I'm really sorry for it flashing on you guys. It's really reflective, not like reflective glitter reflective, but really shiny. See that? And like the back is like the typical for collection boxes. And then here is the inside with the polishes in there. Yeah, it's super, super reflective. It has a very unicorn iridescent kind of vibe to it. Going in alphabetical order, first up we have Cloud 9. Holo Taco describes Cloud 9 as a light baby pink jelly base with a cyan micro shimmer. Cloud 9 is one of the shades that I think if anyone's going to have an application issue with it, it's potentially going to be this one. This unfortunately did not have my favorite formula. I found it a little bit finicky. I did find that it applied pretty streaky and uneven, which isn't super atypical for such a pale pink. I just think because the brand had to shear this one out so you could really see that nice glowy shimmer that you ended up having a pretty uneven canvas. I do want to note, I feel like this shade and several other shades from this release that I found kind of problematic for me, the unevenness that I was seeing in person is not getting picked up very well by my cameras. I used two different cameras for my videos and somehow both cameras were not picking up the unevenness. I think the best way to get this one to look nice is to float your coats on as well as using as minimal brush strokes as humanly possible. This is not going to be the polish to do additional brush strokes with to try to make it look better because the additional brush strokes will just make it look worse. And I say that from experience because I had to redo one of my nails because I overworked it and it looked so bad.
It was just really rough.
Fully in swatches show Cloud 9 in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. The only reason why my swatches are in 2 coats rather than 3 is because the other polishes in this release that I added a 3rd coat hoping it would make it look better did not actually make it look any better. So by the time I got to swatching Cloud 9, I just got in my head that like I'm not going to add a 3rd coat because it's not going to make it look any better anyway, so 2 coats. While I wouldn't describe this shade as a pearlescent, it still ticks the box in my head as being pearlescent for some reason. The shimmer does not show any brush strokes. Removal for this one will be super duper easy. And now we have Moon Lagoon, which Holo Taco describes as a light aqua green jelly base with a pink micro shimmer. Moonglow had a decent formula. It wasn't my personal favorite once again though. I found Moonglow overall applied very streaky and very uneven. This is another shade that I would recommend for best application, minimal brush strokes and float your coats on. We'll call this one, however, a 2 to 3 coater depending on your application style, personal preference, and potentially even your nail length. My thumbnail is still significantly shorter than the other nails on my hand, so I did find in 2 coats on my thumb looked pretty good, but I definitely needed that 3rd coat on the rest of my nails. Moon Lagoon is one of the shades in this release that I did end up adding thinner to my bottle. When I was doing my full hand swatches, it was just way too thick and I could not get any close to even application. My full hand swatch here shows Moonglow in 3 coats plus glossy top coat. I did still have some visible nail line with this one even built up in 3 coats. I do like how much the shimmer contrasts from the overall base color of this one, but this is just a little bit too pale for me personally. I will say though, the shimmer really does glow super nicely on the nail. And now we have Phantom Call, which Holo Taco describes as a purple mauve jelly base with an orange to pink micro shimmer plus scattered holographic. Phantom Call had a fantastic formula. The base on this one did not feel overly thick or thin, and I did not have any application issues with it. Similar to the other shades in this release, this one does start off fairly sheer on that first coat, but overall coverage is pretty even. My live swatch and full hand swatches are going to be showing Phantom Call in 2 coats. I did have some nail line with this one. To be perfectly transparent, this is the final polish in the release that I had swatched, and by the time I got to this one, I was feeling pretty dang frustrated, so my full hand swatches are only showing 2 coats in Phantom Call. Should I have maybe added a 3rd coat?
I don't apologize because I never make, mistakes.
Even though this probably would have looked a lot better in 3 coats, I will say I thought it looked fantastic in 2 coats. You can see the shimmer in here is super color shifty. I was seeing a pink to orange/yellow with a green coming in at more extreme angles color shifts. And the holographic gives us a super nice twinkle on the nail. I do want to note though, the shimmer does have some very slight brush strokes through the shimmer. And I do want to note though, brush strokes through a shimmer is different than a polish being streaky. So my full hand swatches here show Phantom Call in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. Nothing in here is going to dry down super textured or make removal overly difficult. And now we have Shadow Lake, which Holo describes as a deep gray jelly base with a blue micro shimmer. Shadow Lake is one of the other polishes in this release that I was really looking forward to. On the first coat, this one is pretty sheer and very uneven. It definitely needs building up to get a nice even base going. Thankfully, this is one of these shades that I was able to get a nice even base on. However, I did need 3 coats to get there. With how strong and glowy this shimmer is, I definitely see why it is a 3-coater. The shimmer has a really pretty blue to purple color shift. When I brought this one outside, I was seeing a hint of like a pinkish color at very extreme angles. I was feeling kind of meh about this polish, but I will say I really like how color shifty the shimmer is. That was kind of the saving grace for this one for me. That is Shadow Lake in 3 coats plus a glossy top coat. Super easy removal, and I did not personally experience any staining. And now we have Swan Song, which Holo describes as a buildable white jelly base with a blue micro shimmer. I want to put my personal bias out there now. I am not a huge fan of sheer whites. I am very critical of shades like this because I often find them to be very streaky, very uneven, and super finicky and hard to get even and look really good. And unfortunately, that is what Swan Song was for me personally. I personally do not think this looks nice enough in 1 or 2 coats to call it a buildable shade. This is another one of the shades that I feel if someone's going to have difficulty in application, it's likely going to be this shade. Something else that I found really frustrating about Swan Song is in person, I thought this looked honestly really bad, just really patchy, very uneven, and I am incredibly frustrated that once again, both of my cameras are not picking up how uneven this looked on me in person, which is honestly really weird because I usually find Holo specialty shades look better in person than they do on camera. So the fact that for once I have issues with Holo polishes and they don't pick up on camera, it's incredibly frustrating. The shimmer here is very ethereal and very glowy. I feel like if any of the polishes really personify an underglow shimmer, it would be this one. It has that kind of glowing from within vibe to it, but I just found the application on this one to be a little bit too finicky to get me to like it.
It's definitely a no for me, though.
So I did want to compare this one to Holo Milky White Shimmer because I thought someone might see these and say, hey, that's the same thing. While these aren't dupes, I will say they are super similar in the sense that they are both sheer whites. Swan Song has more of a blue shimmer. It's more color shifty as well, and not Milky White Shimmer has like a white or a golden shimmer if I remember right. And the final shade in this release is called Vitamin Glow. Holo describes it as a light cornflower blue jelly base with a pink micro shimmer and scattered holographic. Vitamin Glow had an okay formula. It wasn't the worst in the collection, but it wasn't the best either. This is another shade that starts off very streaky, so you need to build up your coats to kind of get rid of all of those streaks. When I was doing my full hand swatches, Vitamin Glow was the 4th polish in the release that I swatched. That is important to note because I did 2 coats for my full hand swatch only because by the time I got to the 4th swatch in this release, I came to the conclusion that the 3rd coat was not really helping with the unevenness, so why bother doing it?
Disappointed!
However, I did do a 3rd coat for the live swatch because I was kind of curious to see if it would in fact help the unevenness, and it did seem to help out some of the more obvious dark spots. So I will call this one a 2 to 3 coater depending on your own personal preference. That 3rd coat also does seem to add a little bit more opacity. I do feel like the dark spots and unevenness that I have with this one is showing up a little bit better on camera, but like in person, it just was not great. And again, I recognize I could have added a 3rd coat that might have made it a a little bit better, but my heart was just so sad about how streaky the other polishes were that I just didn't have a third coat in me. I feel like for those of you who are more seasonal polish wearers that this might be a little bit too pastel leaning for winter, but I do think this one does have some wintry icy vibes to it. Alrighty, so final thoughts. Honestly, this was not the release for me. Hi, voiceover Nicole for my final thoughts. I feel like I don't like how I said my original final thoughts. I want to re-say them now. As I just said, I don't think this was the release for me personally. I don't think this was necessarily a bad release, but I don't think this was like the best release Holo Taco has ever given us either. I hate that I feel like I'm being super negative because I'm really trying hard not to be negative, but I feel like the combination of some of these shades being really streaky and uneven and just not fun to work with, paired with the fact that like they're very pastel leaning and I don't really care for pastels, and the only time I really care for pastels is when the formulas are so good, so even and smooth and just no dark spots. That's the only time I can get down with pastels. I feel like the combination of the two things is making it just really hard for me to be like, yeah, this was a fantastic release. Don't think this strictly came down to user error, so I did contact my rep with Holo Taco to let them know about the issues that I had with this release. I am recording this voiceover on Friday, the day before the release, so I don't anticipate that I'm going to hear back from them before the release happens. If you twisted my arm and asked me which polishes from this release that I did like, I do think that Phantom Call and Shadow Lake were pretty good. I will say though, and like again, I know this is just me based on my own color preferences that I'm saying this, but I kind of wish all the polishes in this release had holographic. When I got the press email that this collection was going to be called the Underglow collection, I was thinking that this was going to be kind of similar to those crushed holos that Holo Taco did a few months ago where there was like an underglow shimmer. These strong, glowy shimmers, I feel like they don't feel like an underglow because like, what are they under? I mean, I guess we could say they're under pigment. Colorants. I was picturing underglow as in like the underglow shimmer. That's what I was thinking of, and these are just like super strong glowy shimmers and like they're overglows. That doesn't make it, that was a bad one. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like they're not under. I hope this makes sense. I might just cut all this out because like that might have been too much. As far as sale and pricing information goes, all these polishes are going to be priced at $14 for 12 ml bottles. There will be a bundle listing available if you want this nifty collection box. The collection box will be priced at $84 and will feature all 6 polishes. And again, this collection box is limited edition, but the polishes themselves are not. At the same time this collection is launching, Holo Taco is also starting their Black Friday Day sales early. According to customer emails, it looks like the Black Friday sale is going to be up to 25% off site-wide. If memory serves correct, that's not as good of a sale as the royalty sale they do in the spring, but it is still a really good sale nonetheless since Holo Taco doesn't really do sales very often. I'm not quite sure how long the sale period is going to be for. I would have to imagine it's going to go up until Black Friday potentially. So I would love to know what everyone else thought of this release. Are you planning on picking it? Have you already picked it? You know the drill. Let me know all your thoughts and feelings. Also, if you are shopping the sale, let me know what you're getting because I'm nosy. Before we end today's video, I want to give a very special shout out to my channel members, Shenanigang, Stormy fans. Thank you guys so very much for the love and support. Names, of course, all on the screen right now. We have a members only live stream happening for Shenanigang members and higher coming up this Friday. If you like taking part in the shenanigans and nonsense, feel free to sign up for channel memberships or not. Do what you want. If you are new to my channel, hi there, I am Nicole, welcome. If you like seeing my face here on the YouTubes, you know, consider hitting subscribe. I am trying to get to 10K in the next couple of months, so like, fingers crossed. If you like non-nail polish nonsense as well, I have a second channel where I post all of my non-nail polish stuff over there. My second channel is called Nicole Danielson, by the way. I feel like I always forget to say that, but it's also linked in the description box, and there'll be like a video on the cards as well. If you are watching this on Saturday, I do have a live stream happening tomorrow, which is Sunday. If you're unaware, I have live streams every single Sunday at 3 p.m. Love to have you over there. Just be aware, it gets kind of rowdy. If you use Discord, I also have a Discord. We would love to have you over there as well. Just make sure, you know, 18 plus only, folks. No children, thank you. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
When I get high, I ain't looking at the clock, still ballin' like Brian. Yeah, I'm headed to the Bucks, then I'm ballin' like yeah.